There he is. Hey, Aaron, what club are you in?
I'm the president of the Glee Club. Why do I talk?
The Glee Club!
Hello everyone and welcome back for some more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. My name is Kelly and I grew up in a Scientology family in the UK, and I was actually labelled a suppressive person when I was just 6 years old. This week is a growing up in Scientology takeover, where former ex-cult members are filling in the show slots on Aaron's channel, so check out the live tab and the video tab to see what else has been going on. The plan is to keep the content moving and show Scientology that those who grew up in this organisation will continue to speak up no matter what. Today we are discussing a case that is disturbing, devastating, and really should have been the thing that ended this horrible family-destroying human trafficking cult. Let's dive in. On the 5th of December 2025, protesters will gather outside the Church of Scientology in Clearwater, Florida, to hold a remembrance gathering for a Scientologist named Lisa McPherson. She died while in Scientology's care 30 years ago, and she was just 36 years old when she died. The Fort Harrison Hotel is a historic landmark in Clearwater, Florida. It functions as a private religious retreat for Scientologists from all around the world. It offers so-called advanced spiritual training and counselling services. Horrifically, these services can and have been delivered by minors. These children work in the hotel and then are locked in rooms with paying Scientologists who then confess their deepest, darkest secrets whilst everything's being videotaped. There are so many horrors that ex-Sea Org members can tell you about working in this hotel, but today we are going to look at what happened to Lisa McPherson. In room 174 at Scientology's Fort Harrison Hotel, Lisa McPherson is isolated for 17 days. She is completing the introspection rundown, an isolation watch with 24-hour observation.
This step consists of locking a person in a room where they cannot communicate with anyone, no one is to communicate with them, and they're to be kept there until they supposedly come out of their psychotic state.
These 17 days were the last days of Lisa's life. Born in 1959, Lisa became a Scientologist as a teenager and moved from Dallas to Clearwater, Florida in 1994 for her work with AMC Publishing, a company that was mostly staffed and ran by Scientologists. In June 1995, Lisa was placed in her first introspection rundown after she got really excited after she reached Scientology's most desired state, known as clear, on their bridge to total freedom.
And a door kicked open, and I heard this loud voice hollering in glee. I went up to one of the class 12s and I said, "What's happening here?" He said, "Oh, that's Lisa McPherson. She just attested to clear. You've got somebody up in the Hubbard Guidance Center who just attested to clear, who looks to me to be on the verge of psychosis."
On November 18th in 1995, Lisa was involved in a minor car accident. She was unharmed, but paramedics became concerned when she began removing her clothes while saying, "I need help. I need to talk to someone."
Lisa in the accident scene was behind our ambulance, and he says, "You're never going to guess what she's doing," speaking of Lisa. And I said, "What?" And he says, "She's taking off her clothes." And it was like a few seconds later, she came walking down the side of our ambulance with not a stitch on. As I went to get her, I said, Lisa, why did you take your clothes off?" And she said, "I wanted people to think I was crazy so then I could get some help."
The paramedics took her to the hospital and agreed, though she was unharmed, she should be kept for observation. And then, after an intervention by her fellow Scientologists, Lisa would refuse psychiatric observation or admission at the hospital, and she checked herself out against doctors' advice. The Church of Scientology has a long-standing war with the psychiatry industry, and they actually believe that the psychiatrists are like evil aliens sent here to keep us all confused. So if Lisa had gone to them, you know, she might have been referred for medicine or other treatment. But had that happened, she might still be with us today. After checking out of hospital, Lisa was taken to the Fort Harrison Hotel. Scientologists report that Lisa was brought there for rest and relaxation. However, sworn statements demonstrate that she was actually there for another introspection rundown. She was taken to room 174 and then isolated for 17 days. No one talking to her, people trying to force feed her. Reports say that she was intensely audited and even given tapes of L. Ron Hubbard to listen to. As the days went on, she continued to lose touch with reality. It's reported that she began hallucinating, believing that she in fact herself was L. Ron Hubbard. She began self-harming. They actually cut her nails down to prevent her from scratching herself or other staff members. She became very weak and was unable to eat or drink. All while this was going on, she had 24-hour observation. It makes me sick to know that so many people were involved with the deterioration of this woman and nobody stepped up and did anything. The last days of her life are incredibly detailed in these care logs that the staff members had to keep.
Mike Rinder is the director of the Church of Scientology International. Rest and relaxation sounds like a wonderful idea, but the records say that 2 days into her stay, she was spitting out food and vomiting. 4 days into her stay, she was ashen-faced and feverish, and then she became violent, striking the attendants, hallucinating, thinking that she's L. Ron Hubbard, being too weak to stand, soiling herself, crying, babbling, breaking things. At that point, isn't it clear that it's not working?
What's not working?
Resting, taking her awake.
No, I don't think that that's clear at all. I don't think that you can draw inferences or conclusions from what is said. You can read other reports, and later on there is a different perspective.
The last 2 days of these logs are missing. The fallout from this case was managed by Mike Rinder and Marty Rathbun. And there's literally a video of Marty saying that he had ordered the last 2 days of the logs to be destroyed because he feared that they would incriminate the church.
And those were the 3 documents or 3 reports that myself, Ellie Abelson, general counsel for the church, and Lynn Farney, who was a staff member, decided ought to go. And of course I was the senior person there, so I said, lose them. And but we had discussed it, and they had culled them and pulled them out as these being things that we wouldn't want people to see.
Investigators learned that only a few of Lisa's caretakers had any medical training at all, and nobody was a licensed physician.
Lisa McPherson, who is mentally unstable, according to Scientology, is having these people come in and try to force feed her, and she's yelling and screaming at them. She's banging on the wall. She's fighting with them. She's asking them questions, but they are not allowed to respond to her. All they can do is turn around and walk out the room and then write a report to the case supervisor and close the door behind them. And she's not allowed to leave.
The police also discovered that during her stay, Lisa had been physically restrained. She had been tied to her bed and given injections of muscle relaxant and a cocktail of other herbal potions. The logs of December 4th and 5th are missing thanks to Marty Rathbun, but Lisa's final caretaker, Laura Arunda, described what she saw in those final 48 hours of Lisa's life. This information is sourced from Tony Ortega's blog, The Underground Bunker. At 5 p.m. on the 5th of December, Laura returned for another shift, and Heather, her other carer, was in the bathroom with Lisa. Laura was shocked by how much worse Lisa looked than just 12 hours earlier. She described her as looking septic, saying that she appeared to have an infection. Laura Arunda went to notify Janice Johnson, the chief medical officer, but Janice did not arrive at room 174 for another 2 hours after this phone call, arriving at about 7 p.m. The church staff then contacted David Minkoff, a a Scientologist medical doctor who prescribed Lisa with Valium twice, as well as chloral hydrate. They were requesting for Minkoff to provide an antibiotic because it seemed that she had an infection. Minkoff refused, saying that he needed to see her before he could prescribe her with anything. Dr. Janice Johnson stated that Lisa had been gasping and had laboured breathing whilst on the route to the hospital. But despite how alarming this was, they didn't go to the hospital that was 6 minutes away. In fact, they drove past 4 other hospitals on the way to their ultimate destination, and they took her to Newport Richley Community Hospital, which is the hospital that David Minkoff worked at. And this was 45 minutes away. Upon arrival, Lisa exhibited no vital signs. Hospital staff attempted to resuscitate her for 20 minutes before declaring her dead. It has been reported that she most likely died before she even got to the hospital. Had they just taken her to the hospital that was 6 minutes away, she might have lived. The Scientologist called Lisa's family to tell them that she had died of a blood clot or meningitis. As you could imagine, a suspicious death investigation was opened the very next day. The initial autopsy showed that she was suffering from severe dehydration and had likely not had enough water for 5 to 10 days. Lisa's family opened a case against the Church of Scientology, and the prosecutors levied 2 charges against the Church of Scientology. The first being abuse of a disabled adult, and the second being practicing medicine without a license. 5 years after Lisa's death, the charges against the church were dropped. The charges lost all weight once the medical examiner, Joan Wood, reconsidered her findings about Lisa's death. Even though Joan had initially concluded that severe dehydration was the reason she died, she changed her findings to undetermined, which undermined the case. She resigned shortly after, and Joan had been a medical examiner for 18 years. She conducted more than 5,600 autopsies, and she testified in hundreds of murder trials. Unfortunately, this case will be the one that she has been remembered for the most. It's speculated that Scientology may have influenced her to change her report. The church has spent around $30 million dealing with this case, and eventually they settled for an undisclosed amount with the family. Nobody was ever held responsible for Lisa's death, and Scientology took this as an opportunity to create a new clause, which would state that they would not be responsible for treating medical conditions, which basically stops anyone from suing them for medical neglect in the future. Lisa McPherson will never be forgotten, and it's the reason that on December 5th, every year, people gather to remember her and to protest the family-destroying, human trafficking Scientology cult that ended her life. Comment your thoughts, share this video. Thank you so much for watching.